Hey Tracy, lovely to see you again.
Good morning. How are you?
I am very, very well, thank you. How are you?
Absolutely great. I'm really, really looking forward to this one today. Mind you, I look forward to all of them, so that's
Yeah,
fine.
absolutely. As we dig into these, like stuff comes up for us as well,
Yes.
right? It's not just, we're here, giving you information and telling you stuff. Like stuff resonates with us. The
Mm.
more that, we go through different aspects and different elements of things, sometimes we have our own aha moments too.
Oh, absolutely. And I was thinking about this earlier on, something completely unconnected. And I honestly think that people who are new to this or don't really fully understand it just think that we have got all the ace cards in our hand,
Hmm.
and we haven't. We've still got our work to do. Like you say, there's things that come up for us and you're like, oh, that feels like something's pushed a button. We have things going on where, I don't know about you, but I've certainly had times where I feel like my guides have abandoned me, and they haven't. It's me. I've got whatever going on and the connection's gone. But we're human. So we don't have all the answers. We don't have an easy life of it just because we've got some extra tools in our bag.
Exactly. I mean, it's taken us through going through these traumas that we've been through. We're each different. We each have our own traumas. And almost like saying enough's enough, right? I'm not putting up with this anymore. And my God, we've had to work through stuff.
Yes, absolutely. There have definitely been times where I have just thought, you know what? Maybe I just want to go back to being oblivious to all of this and just, I don't know, maybe it is easier being oblivious to it sometimes. I really don't know. I can't imagine that it is, but just I don't feel that I've got the edge on anybody just because of what I do. And so, yeah, sometimes it's just as hard for us. But then we come out the other side of it, and it's like, oh, yeah, that was worth it because this happened, or I got this, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's all part of the path that we have chosen. So it would be really interesting to see what comes up today for either of us. So, yeah, looking forward.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, I've done my time of burying my head in the sand. And I remember having a reading like a long time ago. And my friend said to me, well, your angel, she's standing there like this, tapping her foot, saying, well, she's not listening. So
Yeah.
I'm not speaking anymore.
Yeah, I really don't envy the guides and angels that have to work with us because, honest to God, I know I'm hard work. I swear I've said before that mine are all in therapy.
Yeah, I reckon mine must be too at various points.
Yeah. God, what sorts. So, where should we start?
Well, today we're going to talk about the prostitution wound,
Yeah.
which is another big wounding. And we would love to know before we even start this, we would love to know what triggers you because there's going to be a lot of stuff that comes up today
Mm.
that I feel resonates with a lot of people on their spiritual path, right? And this wounding can be conscious and it can be unconscious. So
Yeah.
it's not until someone actually says, it may show up as dot 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 that you have this aha moment. So do let us know,
Mm.
because obviously we've worked through a lot of this ourselves, and I'm sure there are things that are going to come up today that are okay.
I'm getting worried now.
Well, it's a lot, right?
Yeah.
So the prostitution wound at its core is a soul wound where we feel that we need to either sell, sacrifice, or trade like parts of ourselves, whether that's our voice, our body, our gifts, our time, our energy, our sexuality, our soul,
Yeah.
in exchange for safety, survival, approval, love, money, and acceptance.
Yeah.
Right? And that's massive. So we're not talking about sex here. We're talking about how we give parts of ourselves away for that safety, right? And for that survival and approval and attention and all of those things. So it is a really, really deep wounding. So if we're in a state of survival mode, right, we might give ourselves away for that safety or to bring money in. So doing jobs that we know are not in alignment with us, but we
Mm,
need the money to survive, right?
yeah.
We need the money to live effectively. And I feel that's a massive one for spiritual entrepreneurs. Do you agree with that, Tracy?
Oh, completely. Because so many people are still entrenched in this it's a gift mindset. And it
Yeah,
is a gift, but it's no more a gift than Ronaldo, the footballer, being a great footballer,
exactly.
or, Lady Gaga being a great singer, or whoever you want to pick. It's
Yeah.
just that this is something that someone is good at and they can make a living from it. But also, times have changed. Like back in the day when the little old lady lived in the woods and you wanted a love potion, you went and gave her a loaf of bread or whatever. She gave you the love potion and everybody was happy. But
Yeah.
there was that exchange of energy.
Yes.
And I know we've spoken about this before off the show, but certainly when I was first starting out, not so much now, but when I first started out, I would
Mm.
get people who were horrified that I was charging, and we weren't charging a great deal back then.
Mm.
In fact, we were charging less back then than I had been paying for readings. So, but there are people who believe it is a gift and that only a select few have it, which we've talked about before on here.
Yeah.
And that isn't true. But if you believe that you have got a gift from God or divine source, whatever word you want to use, it's going to sit really uncomfortably with you if you're then charging for that gift.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
depending on where your prostitute wound has come from, there's going to be a lot of other things that are behind it. And certainly I see a lot of women where they've had past lives as women. And back in the day, I think it was only really the 1920s it changed. Women in the UK were the property of their husband. They didn't
Yeah.
own property, they didn't own businesses. There was a very few that did. But you were looked down on if you had a business and you were a woman. It wasn't the done thing. And so, there's lots of incarnations we'd have had where people basically viewed marriage as prostitution. It's like, right, you've bought me off my parents. I'm going to produce the heir for your title and a load of other kids. And I'm just going to sit here and look pretty and you go and do what you want. And so, that's been imprinted time and time again in those lives where we've been females in those situations. So, yeah, massive, massive wound.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like we've traded our worth, right? So our worth becomes transactional,
Mm,
right? We also can exchange our energy for intimacy, love, attention, stability, security, all of those
yeah.
different things. And I know that we've touched on this a little bit as well. Sometimes we stay silent, right? Just to not rock the apple cart
Yeah.
or to be acceptable or to be included
Mm,
in things. So it means we're not speaking our truth because we're staying silent to be acceptable or to be accepted, right? Or we stay small. So, these two do overlap with the priestess wound a little bit.
mm,
But yeah, it's about staying small. It's about not voicing our opinions. So a little bit of people pleasing comes in here as well because you're pleasing others to
mm,
be accepted, right? Um, so it's very, very deeply connected to the fear of being rejected, punished, cast out, for being true to yourself, for standing up for what you believe in or what you believe is right or right for you. So it is a very, very deep wounding, and it can come from lifetimes of actually being a slave or
mm.
being trafficked,
Perfect.
trafficked. Oh, you know what I was saying, right?
It's early.
It is early. Or forced sexual services, right?
Yeah.
Um, you may have had past lives as a priestess and been used as a vessel for other people's pleasure.
Hmm.
Um, Situations where you had to compromise your truth, your body, or your soul. So that could be around jobs, relationships, any of those different areas. And this is about being safe, right? So you may have compromised your truth, so not spoken up to stay safe. Especially if we think about the witch times and the witch trials,
Yeah.
you wouldn't have spoken up, right? Because that is what kept you safe.
Yeah.
Um, so there's going to be ancestral patterns within this. So as we talked about, like you said, Tracy, about the women, is obedience, right? Obeying the husband. And many, many years ago, I mean, I don't know now, but your wedding vows, you obeyed,
Yeah. Yeah. They
right?
can drop that now.
Yeah, I think it's probably about time that they did. But that's what women were expected to do, was to obey
Yeah.
their husbands, right? And they agreed to that in return for their safety, their stability, to have money and all of those different things, right?
Mm.
Another sign of the prostitution wound is overgiving, people pleasing, as I said, and literally burning out because you're trying to find all those things that you believe that you need, right? That you
Yeah.
need to give away your body, your voice, your soul for safety and survival.
Mm.
And I think what's important here to remember is that things were different in the days gone by,
Yeah.
right? We are safe now. We don't have to fight for our survival in the way that we had to, like through the witch trials or through the wars or, all of those different things. Our
Yeah.
body needs to understand that it is safe now. We can create our own safety. We don't need to rely on anybody else
Mm.
or give away parts of ourselves to be safe,
Yeah.
right? And I think that that's really, really important. So, um, we're not in a life now where everything is unsafe, right? We don't have to go and, find our own food, we go to the supermarket, right? We don't have to go out and kill anything to bring meat to our table and clothing and,
Mm.
that kind of survival. That's all past. Yet our bodies still seem to hold on to this incredible need for safety. And yes, we do need safety and security, but in a much different way than we needed it back then.
And I would agree with everything you're saying. But at the moment, and I don't know what's happening in all the other countries where people might be listening, but in the UK, excuse me, we've still got food costs rising. The
Hmm.
utility bills are rising. I mean, literally, my water bill has doubled per month, but I
Wow.
haven't used any more water and I'm not getting
Yeah.
any better service. So, that's another cost. We're seeing our council taxes go up and people's wages are not going up. And
Yeah.
so I'm seeing lots of people who are being triggered. And a trigger is basically just a reminder. It reminds your body of that past time when you felt insecure, the same as you might smell something that reminds you of a good memory. But a trigger is basically a reminder. And the people that I'm working with, they're being reminded of those past lives where that prostitute wound is rooted, but it's their life now and that lack of certainty now that's
Mm.
now opening that wound back up. It's like taking the scab off. And, in the UK, we've got more and more food banks. This is 2025, and people who have got jobs and good jobs, we're not talking people who are on benefits. There are people having to use food banks just to survive and feed their family. So there's a lot of things going on at the moment that are triggering these wounds that they may not have even known that they were an issue until recently.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. food costs here are going up.
Mm,
A lot, obviously, bills are a lot cheaper than in the UK. But yeah, a lot of people are fighting for survival, but in a much different way
mm,
to how we were fighting for survival in those past lifetimes. So I feel it's good that we're talking about this to bring that awareness that, oh, okay, so this is what is triggering
mm.
this. I have had past lives where I've had to, survive, where I've had to sell my body or, whatever it may be. And this brings an awareness that we don't need to give away parts of ourselves to survive.
Mm. Yeah.
Right. And I think that's what's really, really important within this prostitution wound piece is that we still need to be able to speak our truth, to stand up for what we believe in, to honor ourselves, our body, our soul,
Mm.
without giving those away to survive.
Absolutely. And, I think that we have to remember here, like we said before, when you're in your soul plan meeting and you're deciding what identity you're going to put on, who you're going to be, who's going to be in your life. We chose this potential circumstance, and
Mm.
potentially we've chosen it to make us aware that there's this old wound that needs to be worked on, that needs to be healed and let go of. So, again, this isn't just, oh, great, more rubbish that I've signed up for. It is. It is the mechanism for healing and growth, because we're all here to reach a level where we have no karma, we have no BS to deal with, we've got no wounds, we're done, we've finished the trivial pursuits pie, as I like to think of it, and then we ascend and become pure energy. So
Yeah,
this is all helping us to move towards that outcome.
absolutely. But it's not just helping us. When we heal our ancestors and we heal those who are yet to come, right? So just by one person healing their prostitution wound, mother wound, whatever wounding, it creates a ripple,
Yes. Yeah.
right? So we're starting to not only heal ourselves, but we're starting to heal the collective as well.
Absolutely. And, it can resonate through your soul group or your soul family, whatever you want to call them. And they may not all even be incarnating this time, because we take turns to take some time out and just go, yeah, I'm not having a life this time. I'll just stay here till you come back. So, you know, that's going to bring healing to them without diving into the quantum time bowl of soup. Time is not linear. So our soul could be having half a dozen lives all at this present time. And so that healing is going to ripple out through every incarnation that our soul is having at this time, which is why people can suddenly have a shift or a change and they don't know why, because it's like, well, I haven't done anything. No, but another
Mm.
part of my soul has. And so it's going to resonate back up your ancestral line. Like you say, it's going to go into any future potential lives, and it's going to go out in all directions. So the healing is huge. So if you don't heal for your own purposes and your own sake, do the healing for the sake of everybody else.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because, it only takes a few of us to heal these things, and there's a massive ripple effect that is absolutely fantastic.
There
So
is.
let's talk about some of the emotional and mental patterns, and then maybe we can talk about anything physical
Okay.
that might show up. So performance comes with this. So feeling like you must perform or be good or good enough to be loved. Um, Perhaps shame around your body as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
A lot of body dysmorphia out there these days.
yeah, and that's all linked to this. Toxic relationships, like settling for relationships, jobs, or communities that don't honor your truth. I think
Hmm.
it's a big one. Um, Seeking external validation, so
Yeah.
seeking other people's approval to feel good enough, to feel like you've done a good job, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But also guilt around like receiving money for your gifts.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the big one that I see with the spiritual business community. They
Yeah,
either don't charge their worth, so they spend hours making something and then sell it for a fiver, and it's like, whoa, 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 no, that's not
yeah,
even paying for the materials. You're working at a loss.
yeah.
Um, or it's that they just don't even have the ability to have that spiritual business because they can't bring themselves to charge anything, let alone below their worth. And I do see that a huge amount.
Yeah, and I think that's because we've been taught and through society and through what's come down through our ancestral line is that charging for spiritual work is dirty or it's wrong.
Yeah,
Massive,
absolutely. Yeah. And
massive wrong.
it's interesting because we're talking about mostly women's previous incarnations. But actually, when we do the healing, we have to remember that we will have had male lives.
Yeah.
We may have been that oppressor. We may have been that slave owner. We may have been that husband that, gave his wife the gilded cage. We may have been that member of nobility that had loads of staff and paid them a pittance and treated them as their concubines. So the impact on those souls that are dealing with not being on the outside necessarily, but they're part of the scenario, but they're not necessarily the one that's got the wound, but they are affected by it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Like we go through all these different lives and we have to have like a full picture. So
Mm,
we will have the abused and the abuser,
yeah.
right? We will be both, whether male or female. And then we need lives in between. So when healing the prostitute wound, for example, you may be healing that time where you were a slave, but you're also healing that time where you were the slave owner.
Absolutely. And, ironically, a lot of houses of ill repute are run by madams,
Yeah.
so you can't even just blame the men because it's not all down to them. And so to be a woman putting other women in that situation, that's going to create other wounds as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is a big wounding that can, go across our relationships, how we feel about ourselves, our jobs, how we charge, how we receive money. It has a massive impact. So you may not notice all of these different things,
Mm,
but there may be something here that just resonates with, oh, that explains why um I give myself a hard time about how I look, or um
mm,
I keep saying yes when I mean no.
yeah.
Right, so there are lots of different parts of it, and I think probably the biggest thing is hiding parts of ourselves
Mm,
to fit in and to be accepted. So this is almost like, hiding in the broom closet, right? Because we're
yeah.
scared of our gifts or our opinions or our beliefs and what other people think about us, which all goes back to fear of rejection.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's the flip side because, you were just saying about going to say no and yes pops out because of the obedience thing.
Yeah.
But then you can go the other way. You can get someone who can be just sheer bloody minded and they'll say no, even if they want to say yes and cut their nose off to spite their face,
Mm.
because their soul is rebelling against that obedience thing. And they don't even know why they're being so obstreperous either.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I tend to look at it like the pendulum can swing one way or the other. I mean, ideally, we want it in the middle, but it's normally polarized one way or the other.
Yeah. Yeah. And, our lives that we've had have been on the extremes of the pendulum.
Yeah.
So as we heal, I think we talked about this on the witch wound, maybe. As we heal, we don't want to go to the other side of the extreme. We want to meet in the middle. We want to find balance. That's really, really important.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So is there anything that you would say might show up physically?
Well, certainly there can be issues with the reproductive organs here
Mhm.
because when you don't feel safe, why would you want to bring a baby into the world? You know,
Yeah,
if you've got to run from the saber-toothed tiger or the slave traders, that's not a good time to be getting pregnant. Okay. So the
exactly. Yeah.
body, if it's in that energy, may struggle with that. You may have problems with your menstrual cycle if you're female. If you're a male, you might even have issues with impotence. There can be sexual disorders, again, polar opposites. You've got the frigid, I can't do this, I don't want to do it,
Mhm.
versus the sex addiction.
Yeah.
And so it can manifest there. And it is going to show up in your chakras. And so I would always look for an imbalance there, because this might all sound really interesting and you go, yeah, 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 I can imagine people having that, but it's not making you go, oh yeah, that's me.
Mm.
But then when you check through your chakras and you find there's a chakra that needs work, that's when you might then go, well, what is this wound? And when you're delving into it, you're like, oh my God, that's the prostitute wound. Oh my God, that's the priestess wound. Didn't know that was there. So you might have to come at it from a completely different angle. If you just know that your life is not where you want it to be, it's not how you want it to be, and there's nothing external that you feel you can change anymore, then it has to be an internal thing. So start looking to your energy and your chakras and start working your way through them one at a time. And it's never a one and done. So you might check in with your sacral chakra and it's fine, but next week it won't be. Or you might check in today and then next week you check in and you do some more work. Okay.
Yeah.
But you can either deal with the symptom, which is why do I say yes when I want to say no, or you can find the blocked chakra and then follow that along, and that will take you to the information. So there's various ways you can get to it.
Absolutely. And of course, through the Akashic Records
Mm.
as well, if you want some help, I think personally, um, that it's always nice to have someone else look into things, because I feel for me personally, I only see what I want to see.
Yeah, I think also the conscious mind can get in the way.
Mm.
And, you know, if you go looking for the prostitute wound, you might convince yourself it's there when it's not. But
Yeah.
if you're not really open to it, then the opposite would happen. Whereas I think it's a bit like when you have Reiki healing. I find I get more from a Reiki session if someone else does the healing, even though I can give myself healing whenever I want. And I think it's because you just switch off and give over the power to somebody else. And then they might even come up with stuff you already know. And you're like, oh, yeah, but you're giving me a different angle on it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm like you. I like someone else to come and help me do that process rather than trying to do it all myself.
Yeah, absolutely. So, also, I think, with going into the Akashic Records as well, if you're, looking for one particular wounding, as we mentioned at the beginning of this, they do slightly overlap.
Yeah.
So it might be that like 90% is the prostitution wound, but you've got 10% priestess wound, kind of coming in there as well. So it means that we can look at everything.
And I think also because there's always more than one way to crack a walnut, as we say, you know, if you're not sure, but if you are quite intuitive, I tend to get my students to go and sit with a cup of tea or just a glass of water. And if it's nice, the bottom of the garden or the middle of the woods, somewhere where you're going to have solitude,
Mm.
and just ask that part of you, ask your soul if there's a witch wound, a prostitute wound, what wound is there that I need to know about, and just see what your body tells you. And you might see something, hear something, feel something, know something, all of the above.
Yeah.
Um, but your soul will communicate with you if you allow it to. And that's why I say if you are quite intuitive, because if you're very logical, that's quite a difficult exercise to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So healing the prostitution wound is all about reclamation. It's about reclaiming our body, our voice, our worth, our truth, and our right to receive without selling ourselves out.
Mhm.
Right. So, should we have a few journaling prompts today?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I mean, we talk about journaling all the time, and I know a lot of people really don't get the journaling thing. Um, but I think that when we do a journal prompt, it makes us think a bit harder.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And it gives us a nice little ritual and things to do. So, what about where am I trading my time or energy for approval?
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah,
Or what parts of myself have I abandoned to be accepted?
yeah. Um, I definitely would want to be looking at value and worth. So I definitely feel like I'd want to put a prompt in there about um, do I earn my worth? Whether that's through a job, whether that's in the family, it doesn't have to be financial.
Mm,
But I see this a lot where, and it's nearly always the mother-in-law. You get the wife, and her husband's got elderly parents, and he'll kind of delegate to the wife, and she'll end up looking after his parents as well as her own,
yeah,
even though there might be other siblings. And they'll give all this time and energy, and it isn't necessarily valued by the in-laws. Um, and they can just feel like they're run ragged for nothing.
hmm,
And so, if that is the case, if you're in that caring role, is what you're doing valued, or is it
right,
taken for granted? Is it expected of you? So,
yeah,
don't just think of value and worth as being financial. And I do remember working with one lady, and she was feeling bad because she'd retired and wasn't earning what she used to. And I made her sit and work out how much it would cost to have someone to come in and cook, someone to come in and clean, someone to come in and do the washing and the ironing and so on. And actually, that ended up being about 35 grand,
wow,
you know? And so it doesn't take long before you recognize actually, I'm giving £35,000 worth of my time and energy to the household, and it's not being valued. So
yeah,
I need recognition, and I need to be valued for what I do, or I'm going to delegate it and get someone else to jolly well do it.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So there's a few journaling prompts there for you.
Mm.
Um, maybe we could do one around like what would it mean to say yes only when I mean it?
Ooh, yeah, yes, that would be a good one. And
Um,
I would also look at a journal prompt of where is my block with saying no?
yeah,
Okay? Why can sound very judgmental. So why do I say no when I mean yes? Isn't such a comfortable fit. So I
yeah,
tend to get my students to avoid why. So find a way to ask it in a nice, nurturing way, but definitely, what is that block, and
yeah,
find out what's going on with why. Yes always comes way more easily than no.
yeah, for sure, for sure. And no is very important because that's about you valuing your time, your energy, and your own commitments.
Absolutely. And, time is something we can't get back.
Mm,
So if you're giving your time to people like your boss that won't take no for an answer, and it's always you that ends up doing the extra hours, whether you're getting paid or not, and it's the same people that rush out the door on the dot of 5, it's like, no, hang on a minute. I'm doing this because I don't want to look bad to my colleagues or to upset my boss. But actually, no, we need to all take a turn doing the extra hours or being on call or doing the jobs that nobody likes doing.
absolutely. So what about one, where do I sell myself short?
Yeah, I think that would be a really long answer for a lot of people.
Mm,
And I think also, even if we looked at the old wedding vows to love, honor, and obey,
mm,
I would journal on what those words mean to you. How do they make you feel? Because that would tell you if there's any wounds tied to those as well.
absolutely. I know when I got married, I absolutely refused to obey.
Now, why doesn't that surprise me?
But it's like I am not saying that. So we changed the vows and stuff because it's like I'm not obeying.
Good for you. And yeah, I don't know what the actual wording is, but I'm pretty sure that they have changed that in more recent times. So
Yeah, I'm sure I'm not the only person that refused to obey.
oh, I can just imagine the look on my lot's face if I said that. They'd be like, "What? Really? Since when?"
So, okay, so is there anything else we want to add?
I would definitely say, don't feel bad if you feel that you have got this wound going on. I would say probably the vast majority of us do have it. Um, and there'll be a reason why it's choosing now to come up.
Hmm.
And like any healing, look for the growth, look for the gift in that growth, because even the horrible stuff that happens to us, there will be some silver lining in there once we go looking for it.
Absolutely, 100%. And I know for myself that when we go through healing and we release stuff that isn't in alignment, it's like a weight being lifted, right?
Yeah,
And it gives us more energy, it gives us more focus, more clarity about what our next steps are.
yes, absolutely. And if anyone's got any questions as a result of this, if anyone's stuck with anything, do get in contact, because there's various different ways we can help. And at the end of the day, everybody is unique. So although we've given different ways to heal yourself, um, everyone's unique, and it might be that there's a different, better way. But without talking to that person about what exactly is going on with them, you can't give all the potential solutions.
Exactly. Exactly. So we are here to help, and we'd love to know what aha moments you had from this. What sticks out as something that potentially you do believe or feel in your body as we're speaking about it.
Yeah, it might just literally be you felt a sensation in your arm, or you felt a lurch in your stomach, or whatever it is. But that is your body giving you a heads up and telling you that there's something there.
Yeah, absolutely. So next week, shall we do the sister wound?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Awesome. Fantastic. What a interesting subject we've been talking about today.
I think lots of people are going to really have some aha moments with this. So I'm looking forward
Absolutely.
to hearing the comments, seeing the comments. It's going to be great.
Fantastic. We will see you all next week.
Right. Well, everyone take care. Just know that the healing is there to be done now that you're aware of it. So good luck and best wishes on that journey.
Thank you.
See ya.